Hello guys, my name is Behroz. I'm a finance executive by profession and welcome to my channel where I share with you how you can go about achieving career and financial success. Now today's video is a podcast that I recorded with one of my followers who wanted financial advice, personal finance advice. We covered a lot of things starting from budgeting to saving to goal setting to debt reduction to investments to income, a lot of things which were very personalized to this particular follower. However, I'm sure there were a lot of things that you can also take away from this particular video. In case you are also interested in coming on a podcast with me, which I can record and share with my followers, you can drop me a message or reach out to me on LinkedIn. Other than that, in case you are interested in having a private coaching or a mentoring session on your personal finances, well, you can book a session with me. I will leave the link to booking that session in the description of this video. Now, without further wait, let's get rolling and check out this podcast. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining again. And this is a podcast that I have where I will be discussing financial questions that one of my friends, Travis, has. So I brought him on the podcast, and he has certain financial questions with regards to how he can manage his finances better from, let's say, budgeting, saving, investments, how he can pay off debt easily and quickly. So a lot of it will be covered here. This is a very personal situation that Travis has. So people may have different situations. However, I'm sure there would be some things that others may find useful and would like to learn from what we'll discuss today. And there might be certain challenges or problems that are similar with regards to what we will talk on this podcast. So, without further wait, what I will do is I'll pass it on to Travis to introduce himself, and then we'll go into the numbers and discussion around as I said, the budget, the income, the investments, the savings, and how we can improve all of this for Travis so he can eventually reach his financial goals. Anyways, Travis, a lot from my side. Now over to you. If you can introduce yourself quickly, and then we will jump into what you shared with me, and we'll talk more about it.
Sure. Thanks, Barrows, for having me. My name's Travis, 35-year-old male, have my bachelor's degree, and been working on a formal budget here for about a year and a half, 2 years. So just learning how to manage my finances, or me and my wife's finances, with also paying off student debt, saving for a down payment on a house, some of those larger expenses.
Cool. Thank you, Travis. So, without further wait, let's jump into the budgeting first. So, there are certain numbers or certain actual expenses that you shared with me. These, I assume past 6 months to 7 month expenses that you've kind of incurred. First of all, let me call it out. You are way ahead of, and I would say easily in the top 1% in terms of being diligent, in terms of being careful. The fact that you're here and we are having this discussion is already a proof that you're someone who really wants to get this resolved, wants to fix this and improve. Trust me, there aren't many people who have this kind of insights, this kind of understanding, and this kind of drive to improve their situation. So two things I'll call out. One is seeking help. I have an ego of a mountain. I used to have. Now it's gone, or I'm trying to curb it. It would be very difficult for me at certain age, especially when I was more younger, to go and ask for help because I always thought I knew everything, and that was one of the biggest mistake I did. And second, tracking your expenses. The way you're tracking your expenses, the way you are diligent about what goals you have. Like I didn't even have idea as to what is the goal that I want to achieve. Call it 10 years ago. I wish I had all this insight. I wish I was this brave and I would be in a very different place. But, anyways, I kind of figured it out and now I'm in the right direction. So, let's quickly go into the numbers. So, I have your numbers in front of me here, and I assume you have the similar sheet open in front of you as
Yep,
well.
I do.
One question. So, I'll have couple of questions just so I understand everything, and then I'll start sharing with you some suggestions.
Certainly.
Again, there are certain things which may seem okay to you. There are certain suggestions which may not apply to you altogether, and you would not want to take them. That is fine. My job here is to educate you as much as possible from what I've learned, what I've applied, and what has worked for me. So, first question I have is why do you have such changes in the car expense line? I would assume the car expense line would be very flat. You would have a lease or you would have finance. and it would be a very flat line, unless there are repairs and maintenances which are included here.
That's what's included. So card mainly considering gas,
Oh,
maintenance, and then I also put in parking. Because it's minuscule, but it's something.
okay, cool.
So with the fluctuations that you see, we bought tires at one point, and then I think we had some extra maintenance and another time.
Got it. Second question I have is insurance. Why is your car insurance so high? $227?
I'm not. I've questioned that. It's for me and my wife, both of our cars, and the
It's two
assumption
cars.
is, two cars, $120 a piece, but we both have, I would say budget friendly cars, no payments, and I don't know if we need to have as premium insurance on them. So that's something I've thought about calling and reviewing if we can reduce the monthly
Yeah.
premiums.
So it may depend on the city we live in, the state we live in as well. But I can tell you, for me, the my car insurance payment is around $90 per car. I just have one car for the family, and it's $90. And I would assume if I have a second car, it won't be just multiplied by two. It would be a slightly lower factor because the more cars you have, you kind of get a benefit of having adding another car
Mhm.
as well. So I
Yeah.
think it's worthwhile to call in and check if there is a way to optimize this. And again, it may depend on the area you live in versus the area I live in and all. But I think it's worthwhile to check in here.
Thank you.
Debt payment, I assume these are debt services, like the interest payments you pay on the debt.
Yeah, the debt is the all student debt, and there's
But so, for instance, 720, this is interest payment. This is not, or this also has principal along with it as well. Part of it is
principal and
principal.
interest. Yeah.
Okay. And then you have a line for savings. So, where is this saving going in? And how do you account for it? Like, you have 3,500, let's say in month two, I have, which is November, but then grand total you have negative 3,000. So help me understand how this works out. I would have assumed you have income, you have all the expenses, and then whatever is left becomes your saving, but here you're saving intentionally as a line item. So you save $3,500, but then you are negative for that month. So help me understand this.
Yeah, that's a great question. So, um, I'm not an accountant. This is where it gets a little tricky, but in my experience, the savings I take as an expense, right? We're taking money out of the account and we're putting it into savings, so that's an expense to the overall. We either have money coming in for income or money going out for something. But as far as why it's negative 3,000 for the grand total, um, it looks like in November we paid off some extra debt. So that this is the tricky part. That money would have come from, I guess, from our savings account, which I don't include in the budget. I'm trying to find all of this is the action that happens in the checking account. Um, and we had saved up money to pay off extra debt. So that's why you see there's a $2,000 on debt when we usually pay about 720. But as far as why it's still negative 3,000 and not 1,500, extra payment on the car.
No,
Uh,
I get it. I think what you're doing is you consider saving as an expense item as well, which is fine because you want to be intentional about it. You take it out, and then since you paid off your debt, it kind of took your number negative, which means you did save, but then you took out money from saving as well. And would it be right to say essentially you saved only $500 in this particular month? Because if I take, so essentially for this month the saving is $500, it's just that on totality it would be a different number.
I agree with you. That's the part I'm trying to find a way to document that correctly, because yeah, you may have saved 3,500, but you took 2,000 of that and put it towards your debt. So really, you only saved 1,500.
Okay, cool, makes sense.
Yep.
So let me share with you how I do it.
Okay.
One is there will always be some standard items that you will have. like given the month starts and you exactly know on day one this is the amount of money you will have to spend in those line items.
Mm-hmm.
It could be your house rental. So for instance, if you see here, I have house rental, and this line fills up automatically when the month starts. It already shows, so I don't even have to wait and check in my checking account or saving account how much I paid for the rent.
Uh,
It just shows up. And then I have the car insurance, very standard amount. I used to have daycare, so it's a daycare line item. This is old expense, that sheet
mhm.
that I used to maintain. This is from 2022, so I'm sharing that. So I used to have daycare, and it would be flat fee because I know what I have to pay for daycare. Gym is flat, internet is flat, mobile is flat, and the idea is that all of those which are standard items, you put them in the beginning. So as it starts, like on 1st of May, the first 4 5 line items get filled automatically. Now I'm left with the rest. So what I do is I have all these line items here, and let's say they add up to 4,000. And then I would have my income here. Let's say income is 16,000. So I would be left with this delta
Yeah.
of, let's say, if its income is 16, my expenses are, let's round them up, 6,000 standard. Now I'm left with 10,000. This $10,000 is my discretionary expense, which is I can choose to spend this 10,000 or I can choose not to spend this $10,000 completely. Now that is
Hmm.
not possible because there would be certain items, such as like grocery. I have to
Right.
eat. I have to have fuel. But I know I can still play with those items. Like I can manage the kind of grocery I will have, and so on and so forth. So when the month starts, I already know that I only have $10,000 for me to spend because the rest is gone already.
Hmm.
So this is one. So see if there is a way for you to move the standard items up and have it in a way where they get populated as the month starts. Now another line item that you can put in here is forced saving, like you have there. And you say every month I will be saving, and my recommendation is you should be saving around 20% of
Yeah.
your net income. If it's 15, that's fine as well, but it should be 20 is ideal. 15, I don't like it, and anything above 20 is good. So you take that line item and put it in as well. So let's say my income is 16. I already have spent $6,000, and then I save another, let's say, $3,000. Now I'm left with $7,000. So what it does for me is, as the month is passing by, and if I was able to optimize on my fuel, on my grocery, and I'm still left with, let's say, by towards the end of the month, I'm left with $1,000. I go like, maybe I can treat myself, and maybe
Hmm.
we can go for a fancy dinner because you know what I have. It seems that by the end of the month, I will be left with $1,000, and so by the 20th of the month I already have an idea where my month will land, and based on that I kind of arrange entertainment, fun stuff. And if not, I'm far away from that, then I tell my wife for that month we already used, because we went shopping and we did some shopping which was excessive, and hence for this month we will not be indulging in a high end restaurant, rather maybe we go on a simple one or easy one.
Hmm.
Does it make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. We kind of do a little backwards, where we know what our fixed income or fixed expenses are, and I know when those get charged, right? What date, um, and then we budget out based off of past, kind of the variable costs, as in groceries, gas, um, eating out, those sort of things where it could fluctuate. We put those kind of variable costs in there for the month. And then whatever's left over is what we say is savings. We try to follow the 50/30/20 rule: 50 towards wants, 30 towards needs, 20 towards savings. But we're not following that because we're at the point where we just want to save every penny we can for the house. Um, so some months we're saving 40%, 50% for savings, and 20 to 50% for needs, and very little for wants. That's kind of how I've broken it up.
Got it.
Um, I think I just have I have an accounting error on how to appropriately calculate. Yes, we saved this money, yes, we spent this money. Um, so that, because how we look at it is we kind of follow the Dave Ramsey rule of the $0 budget or zero balance budget. So at the beginning of every month, I want to have every dollar appropriated towards. And so we should have $0 based off of what we know is coming in, what we know is going out. The balance should be zero. Now, the actual, obviously, this is going to change a little bit, but we want to be close to zero. So when you see a gross profit or a difference of, 1,000 or more, then it makes me wonder if it's accounting error or if it's money that's coming in from a separate savings account that I have not accounted for in the accounting part of it. Does that make
Got it.
sense?
Makes sense. So the numbers that I see here, are they all, you create them as they actualize, or there is a, you kind of forecast them as well?
Yeah. So both. I have a P&L sheet that tracks everything and what I'll do is I'll export my expenses, my checking account throughout the month. I'll export it into Excel, and everything is already auto populated. It sees what the charge is, it knows what it is, and throws it under the category.
Okay.
And then I kind of track to see where am I at on budget. Am I over budget for right now? Am I under budget for right now, based off of how far along you are in the month? So, for example, this month we're 34% of the way through the month. I can look at my budget and see that, oh, I've spent, $240 out of $450 on my car. I'm 53% on my budget already. I'm over where I should be in this part in time in the month. Hopefully that helps.
Got it. No, makes
I
sense.
do have
So,
what I budget, and that's kind of this is what we're shooting for, and it shows the actuals. And then I also have a P&L to kind of show the overall picture.
got it. Makes sense. Okay, cool. Yeah. So that was another point which I wanted to make, is I think it's very important for you to have the budget as well as against just tracking. But before I make that point, another piece that I wanted to share with you, or tip that I have, is I also have a way of measuring my performance on spending. So what I do is I have a past 12-month average, past 6-month average, and past 3-month average. So what
Mm,
has been my average on rental, my groceries, and all? But see, the point is, when you're measuring groceries, it is very difficult for you to know that one particular month spending, was it high or low. But when you do an average of 3 months, that's a nice number for you to measure and say, okay, on an average of 3 months in grocery, I spent $1,312.
mm-hmm.
In past 6 months, including, which includes these 3 months and another 3 months from the history, my spending was 1,435, which means that in past 3 months I'm going down versus my 6-month average,
Yeah. So you
which
did
makes
pretty
me
good.
say I'm in a good place. But then there are certain reds as well. So entertainment is going up every range. Like in past 12 months, it was 1760, 1887, 1942,
Red
which
flag.
means I need to hold on or put some breaks here. Again, I
Understand.
am not a fan of looking at it at monthly basis. I rather take an average and then compare averages
Mm-hmm.
and then measure myself against that. So this is one tip I have, unless you are doing this already with your
I'm
numbers.
not doing that, but I really like that because I ballpark my averages and I do it kind of a screenshot. But it'd be nice to see how I'm doing as a whole. How's the last 3 months? You're kind of recent, and then the past 6 months and a year. Am I tracking up? Am I tracking down? Is this appropriate? Right. So we know that, for example, groceries expenses have gone up. The cost of groceries have gone up. So I would like to see, does that track up? Is it tracking down? Is it stationary?
Exactly. Makes
This is
sense.
very
Okay,
helpful.
cool. Now, from this is actually how I created my budget as well. When I created this file, I never created my budget. I was like, I will not create my budget. I just want to know where my spending is going.
Yeah, it
So
makes
when I
sense.
created this file, I did it for 6 months without creating any budget. I would just spend the money the way I was spending. And then when I had 6 months of data or information, I did a past 6 months and past 3 months average. And I was like, okay, now I will use this to create my budget, because I know I want to save 20%. If I take out those 20% altogether, the balance becomes my budget, because I wanted to know what I'm spending before I can even qualify what my budget is. For
Yeah.
instance, I cannot budget for a mobile bill of only $20. because I know mobile bill is not $20, it will be higher. So I have to budget based on what the actual is. Similarly, utilities. So there is merit in knowing where the money is going before you can even budget it. So that's how I created the past six, past three, because I wanted to
Mm,
make a budget. And then once I created it, I was like, this is good for me to even track the performance. So while I track the performance versus the budget, for me, what is more important is this performance, which continues should continue to improve. Because see, this is a bad situation where my grand total expenses are going up 15676, 16024, 16130,
yeah.
16. This is not good, because every it seems like every month my expenses just keep going up and up. So, and then I look where the it's going. So I've color coded it as well, where there is automatic conditional formatting being used through Excel, where
Hmm.
if this column is higher than the previous column, it shows up as red, uh, or
Yep.
or or
I
so on
did
and
the
so
same
forth.
thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Very
Cool.
helpful.
Good. Next, let me. Yes, there is one more suggestion I had, which is allocated funds. So what I do is, for instance, if you see here, um, there are certain expenses which I allocate. So, for instance, I already call out towards the beginning of the year what is my budget for travel. So let's say I agree with my wife. How many vacations do we want to do this year? Let's say we want
Hmm.
to do two vacations. If you want to do two vacations, last time when I did a vacation, it costed us along with kids, let's say $7,000, which
Hmm.
means we need $14,000. Let's round it up to $15,000. So what I will do is, just like rental, which is very standard number, I would have a very constant and a standard number coming in for my vacations as well. So if it's $15,000, I divide by 12, and you will see 1,250 in that cell. So as I said, as soon as May 1 starts, not only my rental, car insurance, and all of those numbers, which are standard, will be automatically updated, but there
Hmm.
will also be a number item which will say entertainment, or it could say vacation, and it would be 1250, 1,250. Because I know this money, if I don't spend this month, I will spend it later, because this is how I've planned it. So
Yeah.
for me, if you ask me when the month starts, frankly speaking, I know 80% of the spend where it is going. It's only the eat outs or the groceries and the fuel cost, which is a variable item. Rest, I know almost everything. So I have it for entertainment. I have it for shopping, like big shopping items. I would include it there. Let's say I bought a sofa, I bought a TV. When I buy a TV, I don't put it in the month I buy it. I just put
Oh,
it against the budget I have. So the budget I have for shopping is, let's say, big items, not a shirt, buying a pen, buying a
yeah.
whatever small thing, big
Something that
item.
costs 1,000 or
Yeah,
more.
exactly. So you put that as a budget and you say, I have to stay within this. And if I bought a sofa for $1,000, that means no other big item is coming in, because that $1,000 was already part of my. That is how I started the year, and I've already allocated it. So as I said, when the month starts, for me, all of this gets populated automatically, and 80% of my expense is already filled up. It's only the 20%, which is the grocery and eat outs here and there, that I am populating towards as the year passes, or as the days pass in the month.
Understood.
So I do it for shopping, I do it for in vacation. I also have a miscellaneous budget. I see a miscellaneous line item here, and it's like 3,691. So I don't know what it is, and you don't need to speak of it if it's something private as well. But the idea is, there are always items which will just happen, and I budget for them as well in advance. So there is a miscellaneous budget item I have for miscellaneous items. I don't know if I can go on the sheet and show you this shopping. Yeah. So for instance, this is the reserve I had for shopping. I had like $12,000 for
Hmm.
shopping for that year. And then every time there was an item which would come in, I won't put that item in the monthly sheet. I would put it against here. So let's
Okay.
say I bought skis. Skis is an expensive item for $500. I'll put it here. I bought a mattress which was $900. And then there was delivery of it, something. I paid it in two parts. So
Sure.
mattress is a big item. I just don't want it to hit a particular month. And then I
Sure.
put all these expenses, and in the end I go like, okay, my balance is 6,000, so I'm still left with $6,000. And this also helps me with my holiday planning, which is by November I already know how much of my shopping I've spent. Let's say I've spent out of this
Uh,
$12,000, $10,000, which makes it very easy for me to know, okay, holiday season is coming. I have $2,000 that I can just go and spend it out, or I have more, or I have less. So
yeah.
the idea is, I don't really, I exactly know before the year is ending how much I have left. And then I don't, because I've been saving 20% of my income. I'm like, okay, since I'm saving 20% of my income, this money is left. I will just go and burn this money and enjoy it.
That makes sense.
Make sense? So I have it for, as I said, shopping, miscellaneous item. I have it for my vacation, and what else?
So you use past information to so let's say you spent $10,000 on shopping last year, then you divide that by 12 and say that's how
Yeah.
much I can allocate towards shopping every month.
Yeah. So shopping is tricky. It won't be just dependent on the past year. It will be dependent on what is the plan for this year. So
Okay.
the reason you see mattress and all this was the year I think we were moving.
Hmm.
So we knew since we were moving, and every time, when you move, you get rid of a lot of stuff, and then you just want to buy new stuff as well, new furniture and all. So I knew there would be a big expense. Now, for instance, for this year in 2024, my shopping budget is only $3,000. So there was a year when it was $12,700, and this year it's only $3,000, because I sat with my wife during the start of the year and I said, we got a new dining table last year, we got a new sofa the year before that. Is there any big expense? And we were like, yeah, we want to get a cat. I was like,
Mm.
okay, cat is an expense, probably will cost me $500. So $500 for a cat, and then we called out a few other big items that we wanted to do. They ended up being around $2,000. I was like, okay, I'll cover myself for around $3,000. So I budgeted for 3,000. So use past data, but shopping would be more forward looking. For that matter, even vacation is more forward looking as well, right? So how many vacations would you want to do? Let's say
Hmm.
two. It costs us this much. So for us with kids, it's around $7,000. I said multiply by two, add some inflation, 15. That's my number.
Okay.
Okay,
Understood.
cool. Let me check what other notes I had on. Yeah, I had a suggestion, but maybe you can. What I would do is I would club a few items as well, just to make the tracking easy. Which
Sure.
is, let's say you have Apple separate, you have Spotify separate, you have mobile separate, internet separate. These are very standard numbers. I would just call them utility and just plug them in one bucket,
Okay.
because I don't want to see like 20 line items, right? You rather have,
Well, I don't either.
yeah,
I
you
love to
rather have
clean
like
it up.
six, which are the most important ones, and the others you can club them. So I've tried to do it. I'm a fan of only having 10 line items. I still have more than 10,
Yeah.
but so for instance, I can even combine internet and mobile, and utility in all one,
Okay.
into one. Okay.
That's very helpful. I wanted to clean it up. It's a lot easier to understand if it's all kind of boxed together in their own kind of compartments. Um, but I'm just kind of learning how to make the data simple to understand.
Yeah, yeah, makes sense. But again, no further inputs I had on the budgeting piece. This is all I wanted to share. So helpful
Yeah,
inputs.
very helpful.
Cool, cool. Let's move into budgeting. Sorry, we did the budgeting. Let's move into the liabilities and the debt you have. I think we spoke before as well, which is, student debt is something which you really need to be careful when you're getting into it. This was, especially we are young when we are trying to go for it. We're trying to apply for it, and there is no realization that this may stick with us for longer than we think, and how much baggage it would have on our life. But anyways, I think this mistake is done. But whenever you get an opportunity to guide someone, just tell them they really need to be careful and knowing what they're going into and how much this debt
I
would
agree
be a
100%.
pain.
I I feel the pain from that.
Cool. Okay, and this is all student loan, or there is something else here as well?
100% student loans.
You don't have any car loan?
No,
You don't have any credit card debt?
no.
Beautiful. Okay. So how do you decide when you decide how much you have to you paid some loan off in
Yeah,
November 2023.
that's
Where did
correct.
you pay it off?
It fell off the list, so this is all that's left. There were more loans.
Okay. Again, here I would w- okay, before I even comment or give my
Sure.
suggestion. You also have CD, which is I assume cash deposit. These are your assets.
Yeah, that's correct.
And then you have emergency fund of 1,000. I think this comes from Dave Ramsey. I'm a
Yeah.
big fan as well, but that's his $1,000, famous $1,000. And then you have cash deposit of 34,854, and then you have savings. So cash deposit is what you're carrying in your cash account today.
Or CD, certified deposit, whatever it's called.
Ah, okay. So it's not cash. So
Yeah, it's not it's
it's
not liquid. So that's I think a 9 month CD, so you get higher interest rate. This was money we're saving up for the house, and we wanted to be able to get some interest on it besides leaving in a savings account. And we knew that we
how much
wouldn't
interest are you
mind.
getting on it? How much interest are you getting on this?
I think it's around 5%,
Yeah. Okay. Five
give or
percent as well.
take. Yeah. Um, and then the 10,000 is in a money market savings account, which is a higher interest rate than standard savings account.
But and how much is that?
That's the 10.
No, no. But how much is the interest or the return that you're getting there?
I think that's like 3.5, maybe 4%. I'm not, I need to look
Okay.
into it, but I know it's just better than standard savings.
Yeah. So no, I think you can get much better. So do you actively invest money in stocks?
No, I want to, but following what I know from Dave Ramsey, it's pay off debt first before you invest. Now, I do invest a little bit with the 401k because my company matches, so I match exactly. I don't invest anymore because I. It seems mathematically it's better to use the extra money to pay off debt.
Yeah.
My
So
understanding.
100%. So whatever your company is offering you, 3%, 4%, 5%, 6%, and they will only match it if you contribute up to that.
Yeah,
Even if you have debt, you have to do it. I know Dave Ramsey says it otherwise, but mathematically, it doesn't make sense. Now, also note what Dave Ramsey preaches, which I'm a big fan. I listen to him almost every day because I'm very much into finance influencing.
hmm
Is for the mass public out there. But you, as I said, you are in the top 1% with the amount of detail that you're carrying with you. So you're not that average individual who has behavior challenge. Rather, you are someone who has a mathematical challenge, and hence the mathematical challenge is very different.
yeah,
So it's 100% return. When you put in 6%, the company pays you 6%. There
hmm
is nowhere in the earth that you would be able to easily find 100% return. I've never found it,
no, yeah,
except for 401ks. Never. So don't miss on that. So good, you're making sure that you match it on the CD and savings. I have a Robinhood account, and previously I was using Fidelity. I recently, like 6 7 months, I opened a Robinhood account,
hmm
and whatever cash I put in my Robinhood account, even if I don't invest it, it gets invested in money markets, which
okay,
means it is very liquid. I can take it out very easily, and
hmm
it is giving me 5% return.
okay,
So I would not put this, if your CDs are giving you 5% return, then it's fine. But that $10,000 that you're saying you have in money market, I would still put it in somewhere where it can give me 5% return easy. So
okay,
I think even my on Fidelity, I'm getting 5% return. So what I do is I move every cash that I don't need for that particular month.
right,
So I have 1 month of cash with me in the bank, which earns no interest or low interest in the
right,
bank. You already know how much cash you need for that particular month.
correct,
Maybe extrapolate it and maybe round it up to make it 1.5 months. So let's say you need $10,000, put $15,000 in the bank.
hmm
Rest everything, just move it in a place where you can earn 5% return. And I can tell you, if you just put it in your Robinhood account, don't invest. Even if you don't invest it because you need that cash, you will be earning 5% return on it, which
okay,
is beautiful return.
that's good
So
to
I
know.
would not miss on that opportunity. Secondly, what I would do is, I understand you're also saving for the house down payment, but I assume you know this, but I'll say it, which is any debt which is especially more than 6% really pains me. I i i get a pain and itch in my heart when I see an interest payment which is more than 6%. And I'll tell you why I say 6%. So for instance, there is a line item which says 9.5% debt. This needs to go out first. So the Dave Ramsey method is the I think it's
It
there is
changed
avalanche method.
actually.
Sorry.
It changed. His initial method was pay off high interest rates first,
Hmm.
but I think the success of people was not so good.
Yeah.
Then the thought was, okay, pay off the lowest balances first to get your quick wins, and that would initiate the behavior to pay off sooner.
Yeah.
I do it a little different. I do it based off of the payment and the balance. So I'll show you example. The example I have is,
Yeah.
if hopefully you can understand. So the first those top four loans add up to $9,500, and the payment is $260. The next $9,500 on the list in loans, if I paid that off, would only give me an extra $126 a month. So what I do is I take that payment divided by the balance. It gives me a percentage of the balance to show that if I pay this off, I get a bigger chunk of my money back that I can allocate towards the loans.
But I would keep it very simple, which is the 9.5 is the highest high interest that you're paying. I just take it off first, irrespective of how you put them in, like top three, top four.
I
This
see.
is the top one, which is the 9.5. So the point is, when I pay this $5,419 off, I save 9.5% return on that. So
I see.
your money market is giving you 5% return. This debt is costing you 9.5. It's twice. So
It's a lot.
before even putting any money in the CD, in the money markets, I would take this off. So that's why the reason I have the 6% number is anything which is above 6% is a bad loan, is an expensive loan. Because if you invest anything in the stock market, it will give you 10% return. So S&P
Right.
500 has been delivering around 10% return historically. So let's assume it will continue to deliver in future 10% return as well.
Hmm.
Which means that if you put your money, if you have $1,000, you put your $1,000 in stock market in S&P 500, you'll get 10% return. And then you can pay off your, using that interest, you can pay off the interest for something like 5.7, which is the first one,
Right.
or 6.6 or 4.3, 5.4. This is kind of an arbitrage. I make more money on my money and then I pay less on the debt that I have.
Understood.
The issue is that the stock market 10% is not a certain return. In
Right.
1 year, it could be 5% or 2%. In 1 year, it could be 15%. So
Exactly.
there is risk to it. In my mind, what I've done for myself is I've said, okay, if I take out the risk, what should be the number that I should be looking for? So I go like 6. So if I see a risk-free return, which is more than 6%, then I would invest in it first before I invest in the stock market of 10%, because 10% is risky. This all this that I see here is risk-free return. You just pay it off and you get this return for sure in that year. Like the market may get destroyed or the market booms. No matter what happens, you will be able to earn 9.5% return if you pay off 5,490.
I
So
gotcha.
for me, I do is I go like, for me, anything which is above 6 is a risk-free return that I get, while 10% in S&P is a risky return. I prefer a 6% return over a 10% of S&P. So
Okay.
when I see numbers here like 9.5, 6.6, 7, they have to go out first before you invest anything anywhere in the stock market. And for that matter, you've not invested in the stock market, but where you've invested, it's even a bigger sin because you're only earning 5% return and you have loan which is 5.4, 5.8, 6.6. I would not put any money in the money market in the CDs before I take any of this off mathematically. Now I know you're also trying to say for the house
Sure.
and all, but long speech, but in summary, get anything which is above 6 off for sure.
Okay.
Put your savings and CDs in a place where you can earn at least 5% return on it, because I know from Fidelity and Robinhood, they're paying 5% return on the cash balance. Sorry, long speech, but thoughts,
Sure, sure.
inputs, questions.
No, I like that. I'd like to see something I haven't looked into is, all right, so it's 9.5% interest on a $5,400 loan. How much am I paying towards interest each month of that $118? Is it $80?
We can do the math now. So it's 5419 into 0.095 is
You
the
have to divide
interest
by
is
12.
$42. So the interest that you're paying is $42.
So
If I
one third.
minus it by minus 118, and the principal is 75. So every
So
time you pay 118, 75 goes towards the principal, and the 42 goes towards the 43, 42 goes towards the interest
wow. So yeah, one third of that payment is interest basically,
because it's 9.5%.
or one fourth.
9.5, 7, 6.6, all of them are, they have to go off in that order. First take
Yeah,
off the 9.5.
yeah.
Frankly
And the
speaking,
seven.
I would let's talk about your goals as well before we come and talk about which how do we go and get rid of this. Let's talk about the goals. So you have a goal of $56,000 for house down payment.
For that'd be total cost to close, so down payment plus closing cost. Now it's a guesstimate, but we want to have
Okay.
20% so we don't have to pay PMI and
how,
plus
how,
extra.
s- how soon do you want to buy a house?
We're hoping to buy it on March 1st, 2025.
Why not 2026?
We don't want to rent anymore, and we would like to have our own place. There are some, mathematically it may be more affordable to rent than to buy a home,
Yeah.
but there are some things that are hard to calculate. For example, natural light. We don't have a lot of natural light in our apartment, and it's just a quality of life kind of consideration. So to have a home that has more natural light is more rewarding, non-monetarily, if that makes sense. So stuff like
Okay.
that, right? That's the tough part. We could wait another 2 years, another 3 years. There's also the fact that, hopefully we could have a child at some point next year, and our apartment is limited on space. So we could make it work. We could really pinch it if we needed to, but my mentality is a little bit, I want to be able to enjoy life to a degree while I'm, budgeting. Um, I don't have that gazelle intensity, as Dave Ramsey says. I just have the intelligent intensity. Yeah.
Okay, no, I'm with you.
Okay.
So I'm with you, and I understand this. I thought your answer would be the market goes up and market goes down, and this is the right market is. But you didn't give me that answer because
Okay.
otherwise I would have told you it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Whenever you'll buy, when you'll buy it, the day you will buy it, the market will go down that day, and then it will pick up in a couple of years. So
Yeah.
this is just how uh, life works. Like the moment you'll invest in a particular stock or an investment, the next day it will go, it will just go down.
Yeah.
But you have to take a long term picture. So I would have said if the urgency is just because you're getting a good price, you'll get a good price in a year's time as well. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. There was consideration towards the mortgage interest rates. Um, who knows what they're going to be in a year? You prefer them to go down, but at the end of the day, whatever it is what we'll pay.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Makes sense. So that's why you are pressed not to. Okay, before I ask that question, how much are you saving on monthly basis? Because it's difficult for me to figure it out from your sheet, and the reason it is because, as I said, I do it differently. So the
Yeah.
money I save every month is very constant number
Hmm.
because I allocate a lot of funds already. So every month my expenses are more or less same because I've allocated vacations and stuff. So if you were to allocate everything, what is the monthly savings that you are getting out?
Well, if we just do simple mathematical, where it's about 2,800. Um, I'm trying to see if there's a way. The hard part is my accounting is needs improvement because I have what I've budgeted and I have what I've what's come out towards savings. The hard part is calculating, you know, for example, when you look back at that one you had, miscellaneous was 3,600 back in January.
Yeah.
That went towards my wife's green card application. So that was money we knew we were going to pay at some point. We didn't know exactly when it was going to happen. So that money came out of savings that month. That's why our savings was less. But some of it also came out of a. So it's hard to.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out how to
So
calculate
if
everything.
if you ask me, and this is just because you've not done the allocation of your miscellaneous, shopping, and or the big expenses.
Yeah.
If you ask me, I can give you a number how much I save every month. And you know what? Up to an error of, let's say, 10%, that is the number I would, by the time the year ends, that would be the number I would be saving on a monthly basis, because I already know what is my big shopping item. I already know what are my vacations, and I've allocated it on the months.
Okay.
So I know the expense of my vacation on that particular month. So for me, it is very easy. If you tell me how much am I saving this month, how much will I save 4 months from now, and how much I saved 4 months from 4 months ago, it's the same
Hmm.
number. It's the
Yeah.
same number because I just take that number off altogether. And yeah, there is a delta of, like, there are certain months when I'm $300-400 up in my net number. There are certain months when I'm $300-400 down, but that is fine. Anyways, I think it's very important for you to have that number. So can you tell me what was that number last year? So how much did you save last year? Because we can use it as a rule of thumb to say, okay, probably this is the number you'll be saving
So
next
last
year as
year,
well.
on average, it was $1,100.
So let's say around $10,000 you saved last year. So every year you save around $10,000 to $12,000.
Hmm.
So you have around $44,000, rounded up to $45,000 in savings and CD.
Hmm.
And then by the time you reach 2025 or another year, you will have another $10,000. So you'll have your $56,000 for the house.
Yep, that's the plan.
So my recommendation is maybe push the house by a couple of months, get rid of the 9.5%,
Okay.
and get rid of the 7%. They are too big. They are very high.
Okay.
This is mathematically a sin. Like, I would have said anything above 6 is a sin, but since we have a pressure of buying a house, I think 3 months delay won't kill you. You just move it 3-4 months, push it by 3-4 months,
Sure.
and you save enough to get rid of this $7,000 worth of loan, which is 9.5 and 7%. These
Okay.
two have to go out before you buy a house. You'll feel good about it as well. They're big chunks and they're high return. They're very high return. The interest rate of 9.5% is massive.
Yeah, it is high.
And what I would recommend is just get rid of them tomorrow. So use your CD,
Uh huh.
which is earning only what, 5%, and earn 9.5% on it by getting rid of it, and earn 7% on it by getting rid of these two line items today. Move
Okay.
your house, dream house, by another 4 or 5 months, which is fine, but you get rid of these evil high interest rate payments.
Okay.
Let's talk about the new car. So this comes 2025. Why do you need a new car?
It's just a guess. I don't know if it'll make it that long. It could last longer. Uh, Unsure. So
Why a new car? Why does it say new? Why
new,
doesn't it just say car?
newer car.
Newer car. Okay.
Yeah, there's some preference there. I'd like to get her a newer car. Uh,
Okay. Okay. That's fine.
yeah,
Yeah. My recommendation is never buy a new car from the showroom. It just loses
absolutely.
20% of the value on the first day,
I agree.
and around 30% in the first year, somewhere around those lines. So buy a car which is like 3 years old. I think that's the right number, which you can drive for another 7-8 years, and then maybe
Yeah,
just close on it. But yeah, 3-year old car would be good. Won't have a lot of mileage. Would be still good health. And especially for your wife, you don't want something which gives a lot of trouble or pain, or just stops at a given point in time and she ends up calling you.
yeah,
Like, for you, you can maybe risk another 4 or 5 year old car, but for your wife, I would recommend a 3-year old car. That is
yeah.
a good
Hers
one.
is 17 years old, so it's a little older.
Yes, yes, yes. So yeah, get a 3-year old car, drive it for 10 years. I think that would be a good ROI on the car.
Okay.
Cool. So we talked about the budgets, we talked about the debt. the investment. So you said you don't have any investments in the stock market. Where is your 401k invested today?
It's through my company, and they use Empower. So I guess Empower is some type of company to help manage the portfolio. Uh,
Do they give you an option where to invest or no?
I
I
know I
assume
can
they do.
kind of dictate the aggressiveness of it, uh, and that's the extent I'm familiar with stock market. Yeah, I know
And
that the
how
money is
aggressive?
invested in certain whatever indexes or something like that, and I don't know if I have the say of where it gets invested, other than do I want to be more aggressive, less aggressive, which I think has to depend on, or not depend, but then it means okay, more money towards stocks or more money towards bonds, is my understanding.
Okay. And how aggressive have you kept it?
I think it's 80-20, 80 aggressive, 20.
I
I
would I, I would keep it high as well. The
okay,
reason I say this is because this money will come out when you're 60,
right.
and you said you're 35 now, so you have good 25 years.
Hmm,
Even if the stock market tanks today and this $60,000 becomes $20,000, it is fine. It will go up in next 30 years.
right.
Like the longest dip I think in the recent history was the financial dip, the financial market dip that
2008.
happened in 2009,
Yeah.
and it took another 3 years, almost around 3 to 4 years, for the market to come back. So when you are closer to your retirement, let's say the age you take this money out is 60, I would say just tune down your aggressiveness at age 55,
Okay.
because if the market tanks at age 55, it will. So when if it tanks at age, let's say 56, and you've not tuned it, because you at 55 you said no, I won't tune it down, and if it tanks at age 56, let's say it takes 5 years to recover, that means you will be age 61, and you wanted that money out in 60.
Sure.
So 55 is a golden number that kind of I figured out for myself, and I've said I cannot rely for the market to come back up in any time, which is yeah, like within 5 years it should be up, it should
Okay.
be back at the place it is.
Sure. Sure.
So when you reach age 55, then tune out the aggressiveness. For now, just go as aggressive as possible.
Okay.
Like if it gives you an option of 100%, just do 100%.
Really?
You are not using this money, yeah, you're not using this money now.
Okay.
You'll use this money at age 60, and the market won't be down for another 25 years, right? So you still have 25 years till you reach
Yeah.
age 60.
Yep.
If the market tanks, it won't tank for 25 years. It will tank and then it will go up. It's just
Okay.
that it's aggressive, so you'll be making more money. Come age 50, maybe you dial it down to 80, 60%. And then you'd keep dialing it down with each passing year and reduce the aggressiveness. And by the time you should be age 60, the aggressiveness should be like close to zero.
I can do that.
Yeah,
Definitely.
cool. What else? Yeah, in terms of once you start, maybe this is for the future because you want to save for the house first and pay off the debt. But this is just advice for the future, which will take another, I think, couple of years for you, like 3 4 years, because there's house, there's debt that you have to get rid of, in the car as well. Is when you invest in a low cost index fund. Like, don't buy stocks. Dave Ramsey is completely right about stocks. He's more of a mutual fund guy. I don't recommend mutual funds because mutual funds are more costly,
Okay.
slightly more costly. I would buy an S&P 500 index. That's Warren Buffett's advice. I think in
Okay.
one of his annual meeting, he said that for his wife, his advice is not even to invest in Berkshire Hathaway. Just
Oh,
invest in S&P 500. Yeah, it will give you 10% return at a very low cost. So we can have another session later, maybe in a couple of months, if you
sure.
want, on which stock indexes to invest in. Like I do play around with let's say energy, with tech and S&P 500,
Sure.
but I
Well,
don't
diverse. Yeah.
yeah, just for diversity's sake. But more than that, I don't pick any single stocks or any other sector. Like, stay away from Bitcoin
Oh,
completely.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
I've
so
heard a
just
little
stick.
bit on. I'm not too familiar with the company Vanguard, VTI, or VIT, or
Vanguard is the best.
okay.
It's one of the cheapest, lowest cost. They have cheapest, lowest cost ETFs, and so much so that they are. they're very decentralized as well. They're not owned by someone, they're owned by their investors. So
Okay.
they do excessive profit sharing as well.
Okay.
One more thing as well, which I just want to call out, is I know for you the target is very short term now, which is the house, the car, and the debt,
Yeah.
but the long term as well, which is when can I retire? So I just quickly want to talk about that as well.
Sure.
There's a rule of 25. So what is your monthly expense today?
Monthly expense.
Average, yeah.
I think it was 6,400, not
This is
including
excluding saving.
excluding savings.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me.
6,400 into 10 is $64,000. So you have your annual expense is $64,000. What you need to do is you need to adjust this expense based on the forecast that when you're 60, what does this, or when you want to retire. Let's say your retirement target is 55. You say, I don't want to go stretch it to 60. I want to retire at 55.
Yeah.
At age 55, what would this $64,000 look like? For instance, there will be certain expenses which will be out because probably you will be close to owning your house. So maybe the house rent or house payment is kind of out. And but your medical bills are up. So maybe your insurance is higher.
Yeah.
And so some plus, some minus, let's say you end up at $70,000. You have to adjust the $70,000 for inflation. So assume 2% inflation for next 25 years.
Okay.
If it keeps growing up by 2%, what would this 70,000 be?
Okay.
I
Yeah.
won't do the math now, but let's say that number ends up being $90,000.
Sure.
So you need $90,000, which is worth $70,000 today at age 55 for you to retire.
Understood.
Now, what you do is you multiply this $90,000 with 25. That is the money you need in terms of your assets, which as they get invested, they generate a return which
Yeah.
will pay for your lifestyle of $90,000. So you
Okay.
need around $2 million to $2.2 million
Yeah.
saved, invested for you to say, I can retire. So if you get to that number at age 50, beautiful. If you're not there, if you get to there at age 55, good. If not, then maybe you'll have to work till 60 to get that $2.2 million, and for you to know that this is the number what you have to have for you to kind of retire.
That's kind of the thought I had, was somewhere between 2 to 2.5 million. And
Exactly. Okay, good.
what I've heard is, I follow also someone on YouTube, Humphrey Yang. He's a financial kind of advisor, and he mentioned the 4% rule, that if you're able to withdraw 4% of your retirement, then it would perpetuate, or it would stay consistent. And so I try to figure out, okay, what amount do I need to hit in order to have this amount of money each year, based off of expenses. The hard part is understanding, what will my expenses be 30 years from now, right? You said there's some give and take. You already have acquired most of the things that you need. So my thoughts are things for family, trips, medical. That's about it.
Yeah.
So,
So this is exactly the 4% rule I used. Is when you multiply by 25 or you divide by 4%, gives you the same math.
oh, it's okay. I see. Yeah.
So that's why I think our number is same, which is somewhere between two
Yep.
to $2.5 million.
Makes sense.
Good. Last thing, let's quickly talk about the income as well.
Sure.
How do you take this income up? So today, this is your 9 to 5 job, right?
Yep.
This is what my recommendation is and my suggestion is, and it comes from a place of my passion and what worked for me and my experience. Think of ways how you can start something on the side, that you can start small and nurture it. So every year it starts becoming something bigger and bigger. Don't rely on it now. Don't rely on it in next 5 years. But by next 10 years, it becomes something which pays, let's say, 4K or 5K to you, out as against the $6,400 that you need. If it already covers part of it, that means then you have some investments which bring in some return as well. You will be able to hit the 6,400 numbers in 10 years time if you
Okay.
start something today. Start something small. It could be, so my recommendation is usually an investment free business. So it has to be a business for you to get out of this 9 to 5 rut and get financially free earlier than later. Is a business. You
So
have to
what's
be a
examples of that would be?
so my recommendation would be something that you don't invest in initially. What you invest in things are things like, let's say, restaurant. You make a lot of investment and then you recoup the investment. I don't recommend that. My recommendation is using social media.
Hmm.
This is what I started doing. So I have 18 years of experience in finance in CPG. And that is exactly what I sell through my YouTube channel, through my LinkedIn profile, that I can teach you how to get into PNG or how to get into CPG companies. So think of things that you know, have learned,
Yeah.
and that you can kind of educate people. So the easy way or the best way to make money is to tell people how to make money or teach people how to make money.
Sure.
So I teach people how to make money is by teaching them how to get jobs. And this is because I know this. There is a formula or there is a model called Ikigai model. I don't know if you've heard of it. Ik-
ETI.
Ikigai, Ikagi.
Never
It's a
heard of it.
Japanese model. Never heard of it?
Never heard of it. What is it?
Okay, cool. So let me take a step back. When you talk about creating a side income, it has also has to come from a place of passion.
Yep.
Because the last thing you want to do is you start something which also becomes a 9 to 5 job for you, which you're
Yeah.
like, I wasn't passionate about my day job in any case, and now I have another thing which is making some money, but I'm not passionate about it, because you'll either lose interest, you'll lose the quality, or
Yeah.
you'll just give up altogether, right? So it has to come from the place of passion. So what you need to do is you need to list down all the things that you enjoy.
Okay.
So I made a list of things starting from, I enjoy singing, I
Hmm.
enjoy playing things that I really love. I enjoy music, I enjoy teaching, I enjoy working out, I enjoy tracking my nutrition. It
Sure.
has to be a
Yeah.
very long list. It has to be a long list, and you also have to ask your wife to make that list. Tell you those things which you really enjoy. Check
Okay.
with your colleagues, like moments when you're really happy at your work
Yeah.
and when you really jump on a project. For me, those instances were when I had to do something with people, train people. A training is coming in. Oh, I would jump on a training. I was like, forget the financial model that I have to prepare for my general manager. I would like to train these three people and do a class.
Sure.
So teaching, coaching was something, one of those as well. So make that list, then start circling the ones which you're good at. So I love singing, but I am not good at singing at all. Like, it's very bad. So I cannot circle that.
Sure.
So I love teaching, and I figured out over a period of time through my career that I'm good at teaching as well, because people continue to tell me, okay, come and train, come and teach us and all. So circle those things
Okay.
which you are good at. Working out is something that I'm good at as well. I'm go like, okay, fine, I work out as well, I know about nutrition. So circle those.
Sure.
That should reduce your list by a good 70-80%. Now
Hmm.
you'll be left with, if you had 100 items, you'll be left with like 20 items. Then circle the items that you think the world needs.
Ah.
Like,
Okay.
I like reading. I love reading. I am a good reader as well. I'm a fast reader. But does the world need another reader? No. Okay. Or do they need a reader at all to begin with? Not another reader to begin with. No. So you cross out those as well. And now
Yeah.
you
Let's
should be
circle.
left with 4 or 5. And then you figure out what is the one that you can monetize. Like, people will pay you for it.
Okay.
And this may require some test and learn.
Sure.
Like, you may try it out for 6 months and see if anyone would buy that service from you. If not, then try something else, and so on and so forth.
Sure.
And that is how you kind of figure out what is that you can kind of monetize out of your, so it starts from your passion and you can monetize it. So this is the Ikigai model. Another way of looking at it is, or a counter way or a different way to still serve this purpose that the model gives you, is think of the last time someone gave you a call and said, "Hey, Travis, I'm buying this new car, and can you tell me which car to buy?"
Ah.
What it means is that there is someone in the world who wants to know which car to buy. They have a question about cars,
Yeah.
and they think or they assume that you have the answer. This is exactly how I started my coaching. So, someone called me and said they want to move to Canada and they want to know how to get jobs in Canada. So I was like, I gave them my speech. This is the way of to do it. Then a week later, someone called me and said, "Oh, my cousin is applying for Procter and Gamble. they want to know how to go about the process. Can you guide me?
Yep.
So I guided them with the voice message. I recorded a message and dropped them. And both of those messages were like 10-minute long. So I realized there is someone who needs this info. They think I have the info, and I have enough content to put 10-minute worth of a voice message. So I just created a YouTube video out of it. So if you go on my YouTube channel, the first video is how to land a job in Canada.
Oh,
And I
nice.
converted that voice message into a video. And that is the video that kind of worked on my channel, just because there was someone who wants this info and they think I have that info. And I was able to sell it on YouTube.
Clever.
Now this takes a lot of time. So you will lose motivation at times, but do it in such a small way, because don't think of it that you want to start a business in the next 5 years. Say it's a 10-year timeline you have. So next 10 years, this business will be enough for you to say, oh, I'm making good money from it. So start small, get rid of the instant gratification at all, and just start small. Pick a social media channel and start educating people.
Okay.
Start telling them how to get rich. I think your wife, is her qualification is in what? It's in
She does her
kids.
bachelor's in chemistry.
No, and her profession was it was kids training.
Yeah, she was an au pair, and she's a nanny. Yep.
I would say just start talking about it. Her experience educating other. You have no idea, there are people who would be dying to learn that information. So if last time, again, someone called her and said, I have this challenge with my child, I need to know how to discipline them.
Yeah.
It means that there is someone who is looking for this information of how to discipline their child, and they think your wife has that knowledge. Just start putting it out on the social media. Again, it will take time. It will take 3-4 years before people starts
Sure.
getting any traction. But
Okay.
keep it small, like 10 minutes a day. You write a post, you write something, and you deliver some education to people.
Okay.
And suddenly, boom, in 2-3 years it will become something good. This is how I did it, actually, and this is how it has worked for me. So I'm not Jeff Bezos, I'm not Elon Musk, I'm not a private equity guy, not a venture capitalist, nothing. I invested $0, but I went through the Ikigai model and I'm like, what can I do where I can teach people is my passion, and it can monetize as well.
Sure. We actually have some ideas, but I want to go through this model with my wife, and we can determine. I like that. What am I good at, or what do I like to do? What am I good at? What does the world need, and what are they willing to pay for?
Exactly.
And we already have some ideas that I think already are working. The I guess the it's being consistent at it, right? Setting time aside to do that, to make a little extra money, to let it grow, and yeah, because I like this. This is very helpful. Thank
Cool.
you.
Good. Thank you, Travis. That's all the wisdom I had. And hopefully this session was helpful and you gained something out of it.
It's very helpful. Also learned that I need to improve my accounting skills, but other than that, help me on the loans, prioritizing that. Definitely here on additional income and having a business. Um, so I do really appreciate the time.
Cool. Thank you, Travis. That's all from my side. Thanks for joining in.
Thanks, Barrows. Have a good one.
Cool. Cool.